It's time for Who Watched Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Black girls have the box.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Connie, and Robin coming to you live from the Time Vortex.
We're kicking off our Blue Ballot Box series, where we discuss one episode from each season of New Who based on our nominations and your votes. Today, we're discussing episode 1 of Doctor Who season 1, Rose, because
y'all are
collusion.
Collusion.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Why didn't we have Nicole on this episode, though?
We should have.
Because she's why we're here. We should have made her watch this shit, too.
In this episode, the Doctor is from a North. Rose's life blows up, and Mickey deserves better.
Did you guys start watching Doctor Who from Rose or from somewhere else?
So I started watching Doctor Who from Rose, but knew that it got good. Like, someone told me to watch, someone that I really trust told me that I would love Doctor Who, and that was right before season 3 was beginning. So seasons 1 and 2 had already happened, and they were on Netflix.
And they told you it got good? Because we've discussed how season 2 is not what we remember it to be.
Season 2 gets,
well, I think it was that season 2 had Blink. I think Blink had happened.
No, Blink is season 3.
Blink is season 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, okay, so, no, you're right, because I started right before Donna's season. So, seasons 1 through 3 were on Netflix. Okay, that makes sense.
And I also want to say that I don't think, and we'll obviously get into it because we're going to talk about the first episode of the first season, but, I don't think that it's bad. It's only bad in retrospect, I feel like. Except for, obviously, Love and Monsters and shit. But, there are specific ones that are nah, that was awful. But then I feel like, generally, it's only bad once you've seen better.
Yeah, and I also think that, Rose does make you want to watch the next one. Yeah. I don't think I was oh, this is my shit after Rose. I think I was okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
But, after Blink, I was oh, this show can do anything.
Right.
And that's when that's the one that I always tell people when I tell them to watch Doctor Who. That's the one I tell them to start with, because you can see, what the show can do. It kind of is on the expanses of what the show does. Mm-hmm. And Rose is very much in the pocket of the show, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Monster Caper, Doctor, Run, some interpersonal turmoil in which your boyfriend becomes plastic. And then resolution.
Yeah.
What about you, Connie?
I just remember starting Rose and the accents distracted me so much that I stopped because I was I can't understand anything. And I can't remember because I've watched TV with captions for a very long time, since high school, middle school. So I don't remember if I just wasn't watching it with the captions or even the captions weren't helping. But I think it took, I don't know what it was that took me a minute where the second time I tried it, I don't know, a year or months later, I was okay, I can do this now. And then I got really annoying when I was binging it. And I remember very specifically being on vacation with my family and binging it on Netflix, the first 4 seasons, and talking with a British accent the entire vacation. And they're what is wrong with you? And I'm I can't help it. I'm watching a British TV show.
I can't.
Thank God that doesn't happen to me, because I watch so much British TV that I would have a permanent accent and it would be horrible.
So it's just funny to me that it was the accents that were throwing me off, and then I spiraled into the accents.
That's probably what it was the first time. Your brain was no, I can't do this. It rejected it because it knew.
It knew that I was going to get weird about
it. It was going to change you.
It knew it was going to get weird.
You, Bayana, did you watch from
Rose? yes and no. So like I watched because Robin came to the house and took over our television to watch.
I made a reservation.
Yeah,
don't act like with the only person that mattered.
The funny thing about it is that like y'all know, like Robin and I are like basically best friends. I had no idea she was coming. I say basically because like Robin has a lot of best friends. I have like a childhood best friend.
Yeah,
it's just
here.
Yeah. Basically, we talk all the time, right? But then, like all of a sudden, my mom is like, "Oh, Robin's coming over," and I'm like, "Well, she didn't tell me she was coming. What's she coming over for? Is she gonna watch the Hunger Games? Because I think that's what was out. That was
we were gonna go. I think we did go.
We ended up doing that. But it was just one of those things where it was like, why Robin's coming over? And then she was like, yeah, I don't know, something on TV. And I was like, okay. And then it was Doctor Who, and Robin's like running around all excited. She got like a 2-year-old Ami running around with a screwdriver. Nobody in our family knows like what is happening. We're just like, okay. And like
it was the 50th.
Right. And I'm like, okay, right. Yeah, it's the 50th. And I'm like more or less okay because like I'm a big fat nerd. Only reason I hadn't gotten into Doctor Who at that point is because I felt like I couldn't because I was like, I know this has been on for 50 years and like, how do you even begin to like start that? So I ended up watching like, I think because they had a lot going on. So I watched like, and I was
the marathon, and they had the movie, and then they had the little shorts.
Yeah.
And they had the Day of the Doctor, and then the Night of the Doctor. It was such an event. Do y'all remember the 50th?
I don't really, but yes, I do.
Robin was so excited. I saw like a part of the Asylum of the Daleks, and Robin's explaining to me how Rory like sat outside of a little prison for 500 years or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, I still am not fully getting it. You know what I mean? I'm like, cool, yeah, but I'm not fully there. She starts talking about River, but I didn't understand what she was saying, so I kind of ignored it to the point where like when the reveal is actually made, I was actually like, what? Like, but it was like she had spoiled all this stuff because I had no context. By the time I actually started watching it, I had no, I just had nothing. It was still like surprising or whatever. But so we did watch the Day of the Doctor, and I was like, okay, I can see like this is funny. David Tennant is like my everything. So like.
Not my everything.
I can watch, I can watch this. So then I think after that, I ended up, plus I was still in college, so it was like I had to wait a little bit until like I no longer had finals. And then I binged it. Right. And so then I started from Rose. And when I started Rose, because I had known that like it would get to the Day of the Doctor, and because I was also waiting for David Tennant, I was like, it's fine. It's like what, 13 episodes or something? I was like, I can get through this and then get to David Tennant and then I'll be fine. And then I actually, like, by the time I got to, I want to say episode 6 or so, then I was like, all right. It didn't take very long for me to get into it.
Yeah.
But watching Rose, like, and like watching it for this, the effects are like, so funny.
Listen.
I actually think that listening to you guys, like, I got it easier because
it wasn't as strong.
It wasn't as strongly dated when I first started.
You probably started a season or two before I did, so probably a year or two, because I started in 2011. But the thing for me with the effects is that like those weren't 2005 effects either. They were like
it had zero budget. They had zero budget.
Clearly, because I was
they were
looking
like,
at
let's
it.
just paint him matte. And like, all in plastic.
But
like, let's just have mannequins and have people dress up in little plastic prosthetics and do the robot.
Oh, that's what it's from. So, Robin, you've watched How I Met Your Mother, right? And like when because we've talked about Robin Sparkles, and that's where I'm going with this, is that like there's that joke when they when they learn about Robin Sparkles, and they're like, wow, was this in 1996? And she's like, no, it was in 2001. Like, the 90s didn't come to Canada till later. That's how I feel about this show, this first episode. Like, watching it feels like I'm watching something from 1996, and it was 2000. It was a cool 2005, and I'm just like, she looks at a computer at one point, and it's the big blocky like white one, and I'm just like, that wasn't even the computers in 05. What year is this set?
Yeah,
it could be 1996. Rose could be older than we think.
No. Mickey put his hands on the trash can and he pulled. And then I started imagining, because obviously that didn't happen in real life. So I'm just imagining Noel Clark and then having to like pretend, and I was just like, this is acting, okay?
I mean, I will say that, like, you have to remember for, like, a lot of sci-fi shows, like, they're acting against, like, tennis balls on sticks. Like, that's what the thing with, like, Orphan Black, that, like, beyond Orphan Black is an amazing show, no matter what. But then when you start to think about it, and you're like, Tatiana's literally talking to a tennis ball.
Well, she has, like,
one double. They have one double.
And there's 6 of her in the
when
scene.
There's, like, when they're all in the scene, when all the clones are in the scene, it's like there's one double that she's talking to, and
she has to redo the scene like
87 times.
From different.
So, you're like, yeah, it looks hokey, like it's all of plastic Mickey. Like,
oh my god!
But then I think about
hokey, but
but then I think about part of the reason why I've never watched Classic Who is that it's worse than that.
Oh, yeah. When I started to try to watch Classic Who, the first effect was literally like the camera goes like zigzaggy, and then it changes, and then the person changes, and I was like, no. No. I understand it wasn't the time.
I saw the one where it's like the TARDIS, it's very clearly a mini TARDIS over like a starry backdrop, and it's just spinning. I'm like, somebody is spinning it. And they just had to edit out the hair. At least these effects are like enough that they don't take you all the way out. Like, to me, I chuckle at it, and I'm like, this is hilarious, but also like, it's not, for what they had, it's not bad. And also like,
it's not really about
the story. I was like, the story itself like makes it so that it doesn't, like, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if Orphan Black had bad effects, it would be a problem.
Absolutely. No matter how good Tatiana was, I think the bad effects would have killed it immediately.
Right. And I think it depends on the story, because I think also because, like, the Orphan Black is very, like,
realistic
and a lot more serious, whereas Doctor Who was like just like weird shit happening all the time, that like if the effects aren't great, and like even as they get better, like a couple times, sometimes it's like that animatronic frog.
I love that frog.
What was that? But it's because it's Doctor Who, you're like, this is some weird ass shit, and like the effects are strange as hell, but like it's fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like it's not like, wow, that's unrealistic and that's a problem. It's just like, that's a choice, and then you continue on.
And then you remember that it was 2005 and they had no budget and they were trying to revive a show that was, this was
and also like
compared to the 3 camera, setup they had 20 years ago. So.
And also they were trying to revive a children's show knowing that the children were now adult. I think that like they were trying to do a very good balancing act of like, this is no longer a children's show, but like we still needed to have kind of that like sensibility that the people who are now adults will remember fondly because they were kids when they first watched it and want to show their kids, but like still be interesting to them as adults now. Like they were balancing a lot of things.
Yeah. One thing I do like about the first episode in terms of, the things not involving the plot is the music. I really...
Oh, the music.
The theme came on and I was like, wow. This is the good music stuff.
I really love like the original New Who theme. Like is one of my favorite.
It slaps.
It really does.
It really does.
But also the music. Like the first scene.
Oh yeah.
Had me on the floor. It was just like, and like it's like very Powerpuff Girls. Like I love it.
Yes. Like, so there are some good choices and some choices.
I feel like for the time, like it's not bad. It just is like I haven't seen this episode in like years.
Yeah, in a long time.
Just the opening to that, I was like,
especially because like there isn't much dialogue, and then it's just following her around with this wacky music playing. It's a very interesting choice, but a good choice, good music choice that I was going to talk about is the like choral ooh kind of music. I really like that. And then, obviously, the theme song. But then they balanced it out with some very interesting 2005 techno choices.
I will say that, what is it, season 2? When they go, like, heavy metal?
Season 4.
Season 4?
When it's like, and it's like, oh, please stop.
Every time I was like, I think that theme song is the reason that Netflix is like, skip intro.
No, it wasn't. No, you're like, wrong. Ooh. That's not the reason. The reason is when I was a little girl.
Oh, God, yes.
I had an imaginary friend. And when I grew up, he came back.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Like, skip season 6, we know why we're here. We're here already. You don't have to tell me this. I saw season 5.
Like, we didn't need that
at the very
least. Imagine if season 1 started off like that. Like, I worked in a shop, and then the doctor came, and it blew up, and then I didn't have to go back because, do we?
It's just the corniest thing. I don't know who made that choice. But we're talking about Rose.
We
anyway,
are talking about Rose.
So, obviously,
we meet
the
Rose.
title. Yeah, we are introduced
in
to
her blush pink, bright pink bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so either
she's a teen girl. She's young. She's fresh. She's edgy. She's just like you. Or she's the girl that you wanted to date. Or the girl that you wanted to be. Yeah.
Sure.
You're super right, but I think that it's interesting because it is that and it's also not that at the same time. Because she's like 19, she's like not in school, she's working, she's living at her mom's house.
She didn't pass any A-levels.
My point though is that like it starts where you're like, oh, this is like this cool girl and like the upbeat music and like do like all that stuff, right? And then
that's exactly what it is.
Like, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, she's working in the shop, like, you know,
you get the
she's living at home.
Life is not as glamorous as she wants it to be.
Right, or as you would expect it to be, is like this blonde girl who wears pink, like in 2005.
But I wonder, so much of that I wonder, is that us and who we are that we're like, yikes? Because I still think that a lot of people watching it in 2005, in Britain maybe, who were men, who were gross men.
Yeah, we just have to remember that this was a show that they were like, girls? Who are they?
Right.
This is for the sci-fi boys. And if girls watch it, cool. Like, I'm not trying... I think that Rose being who she is, you know, they were like, this will be girl power for all the girls who are watching this show. But I don't think it was like, we're hoping a lot of girls watch our show, you know?
No.
So I think that's also why I think we're thinking of it as being cringy, because we know who they thought their audience was and who they were more catering to.
Yeah, because I feel like they didn't... I mean, they do lean into her being unsatisfied with her life, but they don't lean into... It's very passive. Like, oh, woe is me, my life isn't where I want it to be, as opposed to, like, go back to school. Like, go do
or, like, even if you're not going to school, like, there are still other things you can do to, like...
Right.
To like make it. She was very, as you were saying, passive about what she's gonna do next after the shop gets blown up. So it's not like she's like, I'm gonna figure out what I like to do. It was just like, I guess I could work over here, or I guess I could work over there, or I don't want to work at the butcher's. She wasn't very concrete about, like, she's just very aimless in her choices of what to do next, and so she just is just living. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. And it feels like her mom is kind of just. Also letting that happen is also just living, which I think is like, it's not necessarily a problem. I think it becomes a problem when Rose then is not, like, you know, people, you can only complain about a thing for at least to me, you can only complain about a thing for so long.
Yeah.
And like have it stay that way. Like, if you're just going to stay in that position, then like fine, but then don't be
complain about
not actually actively trying to fix it, or at least like in your head be like, okay, I'm not trying to fix it yet, but at some, you know what I mean, just some kind of
just have some kind of
introspection or something,
self-awareness. Because I think it was very much like, you know, they live in like the estates, which is basically like the projects, and like you can see that's like if things weren't going to change, she was on the same trajectory as her mom.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think that's not a problem. It's just knowing where we go in the future.
Right. That, and also it's like seeing that it's a problem for her. Because it's not that it's a problem for us, it's a problem for her. So then, like, what is she going to do? And, like, you know, there's stuff about access and whoop-de-whoop. But, like, there's still things she could do. And I think with Jackie, like, I think honestly, like, she's very dramatic. She's always on the phone. She's always talking to somebody. She's always like, she's just chilling. And I think, and she's like trying to get Rose to like, she's like, oh, you have to find a new job. I'm not going to help you out. Which, like, part of me, I was like, that's kind of shady. Like, her job blew up. Like, you could at least, like, for like a week. Let her chill for like a week. Like, it's not like she got fired. Like, her job
blew up.
Literally exploded. But it also feels very much like, and this kind of comes up, I think, a little more in the future, is like, Rose is Jackie's, like, person.
Yeah.
And so even as she's like, oh, you could do this, this, and this, it's not like she's asking Rose to move out. It's not like she, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like they're comfortable in their dynamic, which is fine. But also Jackie is like, I think she was fine in this episode. She just irks me, like,
she was perfect, but
she's the way that she irks the doctor.
Yeah. I'm in my bedroom.
Like, girl,
in my nightgown.
A strange man is in my door.
Yeah, that's happening. Oh, that's not happening. Okay.
That's never gonna happen.
But while I was watching this to prepare for this, I really missed this. We got it, back a bit for season 11, but Moffat really had given up on the companion's life. And so I really enjoyed, like, seeing what their normal world looked like. And so that when they do travel in space and time, you can see, like, why this is so amazing to them and what they're leaving behind and why they would make such a big decision and why they don't want to go back, et cetera, et cetera.
And even the way that they see the world. Like, or the universe. Like, their reference points for,
because a lot of what Rose does is, looking out for the underdog and always, trying to help somebody or whatever. And it's because she knows what that is like. And because we got to see that, we understood that. I don't have that same understanding from Clara, for instance.
Right.
Whew. Right.
And, like, you only kind of did it for Amy because her husband is also on the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also, like, the check-ins that I miss. Like, this is the first, one, and then we know that, like, in 2 episodes they go back and, like, things have changed. But there is, like, constantly, like, it's not the first and only time we see Jackie and Nikki, and it's not the first and only time their existence matters to the choices that Rose makes. And so, like, I do get that point. Like, I did, like, love that, she has a life outside of the doctor, and she was living a life before she met him, and
she'll have something to go back to if he doesn't exist anymore, which, like, technically happens.
When she died. I was about to say, like, she'll have to go back to afterwards. I was like, oh no, she died.
She died.
Right, yes. But technically it was in an alternate dimension or something like that. I don't remember at this very specific moment. But none of it was like, it was like none of it was in this world, but she still had people to go back to, even in the in the interim between, the time when she gets separated from the doctor.
Tore apart all of the universe?
Right. The time where she gets 10.5. So she still had a life and something to go back to. That's what they call him.
I didn't know.
Or it's better than handy.
Oh.
I've seen both, I swear.
Nice.
This is why I'm not a part of fandom.
Girl, I'm just like, what?
10.5 and handy? Okay.
Yep, when you start scrolling past fic on AO3, you learn lots of things, because I don't read Rose Doctor fanfic.
So then the Doctor is like, it's funny, because I don't think they fully tap into his anger until later, but it's like one of you, I think it was Rob, mentioned, like, he's just like this mysterious, brooding, like, person, and like they did, like, he is a little goofy and he has these ears and his smile is like real wide, but he's very like mysterious. He's a jerk. He's a bit of a jerk.
He's like, Mickey, I wasn't even thinking about him.
But also he keeps calling humans apes.
But so it's interesting because he very clearly, like, and he's showing off for Rose and like holding her hand and like, wow, I feel the earth spinning, and it's like, oh, please take a nap. But it's very like
It's also the beginning of the oncoming storm. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say is like, so it's interesting because you see like, even like with the whole thing about like Mickey potentially being dead and Rose is like, yo, you don't care. And he's like, yo, I'm trying to save your planet. So give me some room. Right. It's he very much is prioritizing the whole over the individual, which is like, it's like a reminder that he's coming fresh off the Time War.
Fresh. Like he hasn't even seen himself. Crap. I regenerated. Right.
So that part is like, it's interesting to me. I think I maybe registered it more this time, but also, you know, the close watch versus just I'm laying in bed just chilling.
Also, he goes from being very traditionally handsome in the Eighth Doctor, you know, Paul McGann, who in the movie, that was of a time, but you know, but when the Doctor who regenerates into 9 is Silver Fox, like he can do some things. Think about season 1 of Luther is all I'm saying. Anyway, goes from could get it to probably could still get it, you know, but you gotta think about it.
You gotta think about it. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting to think about him being so immediate, like fresh off the Time War. It's just interesting to see how they kind of lace it in and the way that they were playing the long game, because he kind of mentions the Time War when he's talking to the Nestine Consciousness, and it's like, it wasn't my fault and I couldn't save any of them, but we don't really get any actual details about it or real context until later. And because he's so traumatized, he can't really bring it up except when he's forced to.
Okay. When the Dalek shows up. But also I think like even with him being a jerk and like he's calling all the humans apes and he's like, I'm trying to save you stupid people or whatever. Like when he's talking to the Nestine Consciousness, he's like, no, but they have all this potential. So at least you get like, because it doesn't feel, I don't know. I think because I haven't seen this episode in so long, like him calling them apes, I was like, word? And then when he kind of explained it, it was like, okay, I get it. Like, he's, like, still angry and, like, he's dealing with...
protecting his heart.
all the stuff,
he's
right?
grunge.
And then he's also,
emo.
like... Right. But then he's also, like, they have all this potential, so it is protected and all that.
Also, the Nestine Consciousness, living plastic, like, premise is very... Like, we were going back to, like, is this really 2005? Like, it's very hacky and hokey. And it comes back up a few times. It even comes back up in season 6 with Rory, but like how? But also
5?
Let's not unpack that.
That's season 5, yeah.
It's season. Oh, is it 5?
Yeah, Pandorica.
Okay. Yeah,
you're right. Because that actually does make sense, and that's the last season that makes sense. Anyway,
facts only.
So it does like come back up, but like it's still very camp. And I think that this episode
mannequins like turning their heads. It's like, okay,
right.
Yeah, it's also very very RTD in the like plastic is attacking and like it's like the message, it's like the with the now that like the AirPods in the alternate universe and now we're turning into Cybermen and like we're always on our phones and now, you know what I mean? Like realize. Yeah, that's like kind of what's happening here.
Why are you like this?
But like that's what it is in a way. It's not quite as like hitting you over the head as like the Cyberman one is, even though I love those episodes, but it's there.
Yeah.
The plastic killing you and which is not wrong.
Side note, only Bayana will understand this for all the fair reasons. Rose going down to the basement, one reminded me of Us because of reasons, and I was like, girl, why are you going down there? You about to meet your tether. Like, no thank you. And I was like, why did the CEO of the shopping mall, of the department store, work in an electrical closet? Like, she knocked on his door like, hey, Wilson, and it's got like the electrical symbol on it, like a warning, and I'm like,
he wasn't the CEO, he was the chief engineer.
Oh, it says CEO.
I think
And so I guess
chief engineering officer.
Yeah, I understand. Like, I'm getting it together, but I'm still like, it definitely says CEO.
In the basement.
And I was like, why? But also, why? Still, why is that his office? Why is she giving him, the chief engineering officer, the lottery money? Anyway, you know, they were doing their thing, killing people. That guy got killed. Clive got killed. The Nestian was just out here murking people.
Clive in real life worked in a very, like, matter-of-fact way that I didn't remember. And I was like,
I was shocked.
And also, he definitely didn't have to be killed. Like, it was like, there's no reason for him to be in the mall at this particular time, other than, I guess, because we met him, like, to give some kind of
closure.
Like, we can't kill Jackie yet, so we gotta kill, like, give some kind of, like,
his poor wife and child.
Right in front of them.
They've been making fun of him for years, and now he's just dead because of some shit that he got wrong. That he got right. They have to be real.
Yo, that kid's gonna grow up and be like, kill the doctor. My dad is dead.
Oh my God.
Speaking of Clive, I found it interesting that he found all these records about the doctor, but they were all still 9. And, like, I understand why, but I also am curious because there are no real Classic Who, you know, previous Doctor references in this episode. So it's just interesting to me that they chose to just stick with 9. And I understand why, for simplicity purposes. Like, there's already so much going on. You don't really want to start adding on 8 other men to the picture. But it still was interesting to me that, like, he found all these records of them referencing the doctor, but it's still the same doctor, as opposed to, like, and this one, who might have been a cousin, you know, like, they could have, there was a place for it.
He says, like, they changed and he thinks that it's, like, a father-son thing.
It's all still 9, though.
Yeah, I know, but he says, this is the one that you saw, right? And, like, then goes into all of the 9 pictures.
Yeah.
So they, like, kind of...
There's an opening
allude
for it.
to it. Yeah. But they don't go there, which is, like, they could have. But,
Yeah, I just found that interesting.
Yeah. I also think that, so we get a lot of, like, explaining the rules of what's going, and, like, you know, not everything, but it's the first time as, like, New Who watchers that we get, like, okay, this is what things are. Because I also feel like and obviously we get it over and over, like, as doctors change and as companions change, but in, like, various forms, or, like, sometimes it's a little, not glossed over, but abbreviated. At this point, like, you know, we don't get everything, but we still get, like, I travel the world, I save people, I can feel the earth spinning, and then there's, like, the TARDIS, it's bigger on the inside, which, like, it always has bothered me that Rose is running away from Plastic Mickey. I get the initial, like, okay, like, running to the gate, obviously, that makes sense. Why does she run into the TARDIS? See it. Take the time to leave and go make a thing around.
She had to check.
But at that, she didn't have to check in that moment. Like, the monster is coming, and you're taking seconds.
Well, then she also, like, yells at him, like, you can't go out there, like, after they move. Right. It's not safe. It's like,
girl. But that's like, that's just bothered me since the beginning, where I'm like, it's coming. Why are you leaving the box?
That was a pure exposition choice.
Yeah.
Because they show us her reaction, but don't show us the inside of the TARDIS. So then they have her go around to remind the audience that it's just a box. And then she goes in and it's just like, oh crap, it's big. That's why she got freaked out. Yeah.
And I get it.
But, like, internally it doesn't make sense.
In terms of, like, pacing and, like, in terms of, like, where it is in the story, it is, like, it never ceases to irk me.
Yeah.
Like, I love that moment, but, like, divorced from what's actually happening in the story at the time, you know? But, yeah, I mean, yeah, and he gives her the full breakdown of the name, which she doesn't hear. Because he literally tells her that it's time travel, like, from the jump, but she doesn't hear, in part, but then I realize, like, it's fine because, like, at that moment she thinks Mickey's dead. So she's, like, not really listening to what the doctor is saying.
Yeah.
Past, like, it's bigger on the inside. And so, like, I think, like, we kind of see from the beginning kind of why the doctor eventually invites her onto the TARDIS.
And falls in love.
Yikes. But I think it's, like, in part, like, she has an open mind, even when she, like, doesn't believe what the doctor is saying and like his explanation for like the plastic and all that stuff. She's still asking questions and her mind is still open. And so like, he's like, oh, you don't believe me? And she's like, nah. And like, but you're still listening, right? Like it's different. It's not
like,
just
go
like,
on. I'll let you
like
keep
I
talking.
actually, and I have questions. Like even though I might not believe it, like she like kind of puts that in the front or whatever. But then also was like, okay, what's going on? And she's quick thinking. She's like, hey, I'm going to use my gymnastics.
I don't got no A levels, but I can swing this rope.
I can swing a rope.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Like that kind of stuff. She's not, whereas like Mickey is hugging the TARDIS, like, get me the fuck out of here. Same.
Yeah. I hope we're not judging him for that because
no, not even a little bit.
Same.
But the overall thing one of the overall things that I think I don't know if I picked up on more, but is different in this episode than when we meet some of the other companions for me, is the way that, when she first meets the doctor, he disappears at the end of the night and just like goes off.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, I don't know what that was. I don't know what happened. And so it kind of is to me like what it could have been for any companion, or like what any other person who doesn't ever become a companion experiences that to be, where it's just like, wow, just came out of nowhere and then disappeared into nowhere. I don't know where you're coming from. So I really liked the way that felt like a pocket. And then obviously he comes back and she goes off with him, but we've never really seen that again with the other companions. I guess with
we kind
Donna.
of with Donna, Donna and Martha a little. No,
that's all the same day.
No, that's all the same day. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I mean. It's just like Donna's probably the other one, because then we get into Moffat and his don't play the same way in the way that I mean. Because he just goes extra with it, and they don't really have family lives anymore.
Nope.
So, but Donna does, and so I think I like that parallel between the two of them in the way that the doctor kind of pops into their life, changes it for one night, and then disappears, and you're like, well, now what do I do? And obviously Rose is still in the stage of like, I don't know. And I wonder if she would have ever gotten to the point of where Donna got, where it's like she's now looking for him. Like, where is this man at? I know I saw him. I know I'm not crazy. I know I experienced this.
Right.
But then he shows
up. Well,
up
I think with Donna it was slightly, I felt like with Donna it was slightly different because they had a full-on thing. Yeah. Whereas, like, really the doctor just, like, pulled her out of the building, told her not to say nothing, and then dipped.
Yeah.
Versus, like, Donna, where they, like, were literally dealing with underground spiders and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Literally in the center of the earth.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that it's also like an interesting thing when you talk about how the doctor introduces himself to Rose and Rose's reaction, that, he's like, bye. And she goes back to her life and is like funny man or whatever, but she doesn't really have any curiosity about the plastic until he shows up out of her doorstep and then the plastic hand attacks her. And so I think it's off. I mean, I guess it is, like you said, similar with Donna. Like, they went through an entire thing and, like, ended up battling tunnel spiders or whatever, space spiders. But it felt like Donna was like, no, you need someone, but that someone shouldn't be me. To Rose, who was more like, I have to be here for Mickey and my family because I'm so important to I don't know, like.
Well, I mean, I think it was more like, I mean, it's really been, I mean, especially with her mom, like, it's really just been the two of them. Yeah. And so, I think when he first asks her, like, oh, do you want to come with me? Like, in her head, she's like, I can't just leave. Like, even though she doesn't have a job or whatever, but, like, she still has people, she still has ties, she still has things that she has to do, and she can't just, like, dip. And I think that, like, when he explains that it also travels in time, it does two things. One, it's like, okay, I could come back whenever, so it doesn't really seem like they wouldn't miss me. And then two, like, her dad, obviously, which is not explicitly said, but there's she doesn't, when he just says, oh, do you want to travel in space? She's like, whatever. Like, it was easier for her, like, it intrigued her, but it was easier for her to say no. But then when she said time, she was like, oh, it's on.
Right.
Bye.
And I also think it's just like, she's not the type to dramatically change her life. You know, like that's
Right.
kind of been this whole problem this whole time, is that she's just, you know, whatever happens next, and, you know, she's just going to do whatever happens next, as opposed to making a strict choice. And so he came back and she was just like, all right, you've convinced me to make this big decision, when she wouldn't have normally. And also it just like, look how lonely he was. He was just like, all right, she doesn't want to come. Wait, I forgot a key point. Let me go back.
Right. Let me come back.
I forgot a key detail. I have to go
Let
back.
me work on my sales pitch a little bit more.
Right, yeah, yeah. I think, and then he does work on it next time, when he's just like, "Hey, Martha, by the way, did you see me this morning? You did, right? Time travel,
What's
like
up?
I said." Yeah. All
And
right.
then he's like, every star in every cosmos. Where do you want to go? And you're just like, please.
I can
please,
feel
sir.
the doctor is so dramatic. I could feel the
It's
turn
so
of the
extra.
earth, every molecule of every heartbeat of every person on the planet.
And he's like holding her hand and then lets go, and he's like, and then it stops. And you're just like, shut up, please. First of all, how dare you? Like, can we not?
He's like,
We
"We're
must.
going to. We going
We
to."
must.
And then the episode ends, like, just to bring it back around to 2005. Like, this slow motion running into the TARDIS killed me. Killed me dead. Because I'm like, why is it in slow motion like this? I don't.
It's her life.
is not
He's
the end of
making
it.
a big dramatic leap.
This is not the end of an 80s
A leap
movie
of
with
faith,
the freeze frame. Like, they
you
might as
will.
well have ended it with the freeze frame, where she's just like, yeah, as she runs in. I was just like, Rose,
They
no.
probably tried that and then was like, nah, this is better.
That's
gotta
too
do
much. We've gone too far.
We've already
God,
done a
we've
lot.
dug too deep.
I also, so like, just to transition into Mickey, I will say first off, when she leaves, she literally says thanks.
Right. She's
And,
done.
and then he says for what? And she says exactly. Like, that's so, like, what a way to, like, break up with somebody who's literally just been here for you. Like, thanks for nothing. Like, wow.
Right, because, like, I think that the episode wanted to portray Mickey as this, like, clueless boyfriend who, like, doesn't really pay that much attention to her because he wants to play sport, like, go to the bar and watch sports. But no, literally the entire episode is him being like, you almost exploded, are you okay? And she's just like, eh.
Yeah, she's like, oh, there's a footy match on. And he's like, yeah, but it's, I'm still here. Like, if you need me, I'm going to miss the match.
Right,
But
right. Or we could go down together.
Enough, right, you look good enough that we could go down together and I could catch the end, which I get.
And he's not even saying, like, I'm going to go. He was like, we can
go.
Yeah. And so
And she's like, nah, I'm good. Go ahead.
And it's
like,
just,
she dismissed
she
him.
said he could go. And so this whole, but the whole
every
episode,
time he brings her in for a kiss, she's just like, eh. Like,
Right.
even at the beginning, I guess I didn't, like, fully, like, in my head, like, watching it the first couple times, but even, like, the first montage, to me, felt like I was like, okay, yeah, like, that's her boy. I didn't think about it, but then I was, like, watching her face this time, and she's, like, it just
That's
goes
just
back
our
to
friend.
her not being, like, but it also goes back to her not really being satisfied in where she is, but not feeling, like, any active need to change it, because she's very much just, like, she's settled for Mickey, and I feel like, Mickey is great. Like, why are you going to do this to Mickey? Right? Like, I think that, like, when I first was watching the show, especially at this point, like, from the first episode, I was like, okay, Mickey's, like, a goofball and, like, whatever. Like, it's the doctor that's traveling time. But then now I'm looking at it and I'm like, he at least deserves her to be more honest with him and not to, like, string her along. Like, if she wants to go with the doctor, cool, but just, like, don't. Like, she just she really likes to just have him around, just to have him around.
Just in case. That's like where they get to in Boomtown, but it's funny that they really did seed that from the beginning.
Yeah. But I'm like, you blew up and your first thought isn't to call your boyfriend to either get comfort or to, like, tell him what happened? Like,
yo,
she
fam,
was clearly uninterested. And she's just like...
Well, and it's not even that, like, that has to be your first thought, but, like, you're sitting at home watching it on the news, and he's trying to get a hold of you.
Right, it was hours later. It was hours later.
Yeah.
Like, your first call, your mom, sure. Clearly that happened. And then she was just like, I'm done. No one else is concerned about me out here. That's it.
At least shoot him a text.
Right.
He comes over because she's not responding.
Right.
Hella rude, and then, he drives her to Clive's because he's like, I'm not about to let my girlfriend be out here by herself. And, like, that's a good decision. Like, it's played as, like, being annoyingly overprotective, but it's literally a stranger from the internet that she just met on searchearth.net or whatever it's called. Like, but he, was like, I'm gonna be out here to protect my girl. He's out there in the car, like, trying to put on
look
that,
all hood.
Right, like, that toughness. Like, you want to get crazy? We can get crazy. I'm like, okay, I see you, Mickey.
And then his tether comes for him. So that
I don't know.
And like, before we get into, I just want to know how Rose didn't notice.
Right. So this is my thing.
And I think the answer is racism, is what I think it is.
And she's not interested in him at all. Possibly
because this man
racism.
had on. This man needed to, first of all, had on a spray tan hair line.
He needed some powder.
Not spray tan. He had a spray hair. He had like the little black. You shake it and you just spray it on.
Steve Harvey.
Yes. That's what he had. Then
Steve Harvey glue on hair.
I mean, he needed to call Fenty Beauty, first of all, because what the hell was happening with that foundation? That shit was like at least 3 shades too light.
He needed some powder because the gleam off of
he
his
needed
forehead.
So many things. But so this is the thing too. So she's sitting there and she's talking, and he's baby, girl, darling, baby,
right.
sweetheart, baby,
and she's not like,
and she goes, "What are you doing? What is that?" And then he's like, "Tell me about the doctor." He's like, "Oh, so you don't you're not interested in what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling." I'm like, "Look at him!
But
look
also
at his face.
He's fucking glitching, bro. Like,
what do you mean? Look at him."
She talks about herself.
But I think that's the thing, is because she was just talking and he wasn't saying anything, and for some reason, and I don't think she's realizing it's not him. I mean, obviously in this case, like, it was classic Mickey, but like when it kind of alerted me that she wasn't immediately tipped off to the fact that like it clearly wasn't him, and she's just talking. So it's like, oh, this is just what you do. You just like talk at him all the time,
right?
And expect him to be like, oh yeah, whatever, it'll be cool, and that's what it is. That's what you think listening is. Mm-hmm. But you're not actually paying attention to him, because if you had ever been paying attention to him, you would know that he doesn't fucking walk around with the spray-on hairline, okay? And he's not out here with this weird-ass smile and a shiny face. Like, what?
With the glitching babies.
He can't even call you a term of endearment without spazzing out.
Baby, see, like, girl.
Does he, like, clearly he doesn't always do this, so you should...
And then she gets, the doctor shows up, rips off Mickey's head, his hand turns into like a pizza wheel or something, and she gets mad at the doctor. That the doctor doesn't care about what happened to Mickey. And that the doctor did not notice.
Girl.
Like, the doctor's the one that noticed that was your boyfriend.
And then he, like, after they get out the TARDIS, she's like all angry at him or whatever, starts to storm off, then turns around and starts asking questions like Mickey is still not potentially dead.
Right.
Like,
he was melting
it's one of
into the TARDIS console.
Right. Then all of a sudden they're like, no, but it was like once they get out and she's like, oh, so like, where are you from? What's the nesting conscious doing? Where are we looking for things? Like, but it was very much, but it was right before, like, she didn't fully finish like processing. Like, she was just mad at the doctor for not caring and then immediately stopped caring. Mm-hmm. And this is a thing that happens a lot in like the next 2 seasons is like when Mickey comes around. I mean, I'm pretty sure they were talking about how they had filmed, I think, the Idiot's Lantern before they filmed the 2 Cybermen episodes where Mickey ends up staying in the alternate dimension or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it had always bothered me how she was so sad that he was leaving. It was like crying and all this kind of stuff. And then literally the next episode, she's like, which way do you want to go, Daddy-O? Or some other, like, some stupid shit in the 50s. And so But this like kind of reminded me of that in that
Yeah.
like it's like she's like not really sad, but she's acting like she's sad, and then all of a sudden she flips and she's like, okay, cool, what's going on?
Oh right, he's my boyfriend. I'm supposed to care about this dude.
And, like,
Let me put that on right now. And then squirrel.
Because at least
Girl.
when Amy lost her memory because of the crack in the universe, the next episode she starts crying out of nowhere. She's just like, I don't know why I'm sad. I don't know what that's about. At least there was some like emotional continuity with how she feels about her boyfriend.
Right. Well, that's her husband at that point, right? No. Fiance still. And even in like Amy's Choice, which I mean, not wrong season, but you know what I mean? Like with all of the times that Rory dies, Amy acts accordingly.
Right. But it just goes back to how much Rose was just not into Mickey even when she was with him.
I wonder about that choice, like, because it does seem like they're saying to her, like, look uninterested, look like you couldn't care. Mm-hmm. It seems like a very thought out acting choice, but like, is it just for that one? Is it all of that supposed to just be built up for that one scene in Boomtown, or like?
I think
you know
it's just like they wanted
Right.
her to have a life, and I think they probably also were like, a girl like this has a boyfriend, and like they wanted the triangle situation to be happening, and like the tension between staying with your present and like going with who could be your future and all that stuff. I think it was just to show, I don't know, the differences, like to give her something to want that's different than what she already has. I
mean, I guess. But then, like, what happens is, like, what Bayana said, like, it reads as racism. like really?
I was joking, but
black boyfriend was replaced by a new black boyfriend.
Right? But I mean, like...
I'm high joking, but also, like...
right? Like, but I know that you're joking, and, like, yeah, we are, like, laughing about it, but also it's, like, Mickey hasn't... Well, like, she says, like, oh, what am I going to tell his mom? And then, like, 3 episodes later, he doesn't have a mom, or I guess that, like...
It was his grandmother later, I think, yeah.
But, like, it does read as not Rose's racism, but, like the writers could care less. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Listen, I think they were just like, look, we have a black person.
Right.
How novel for the series. We're turning over a new leaf in 2005.
Y'all.
Hey. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah. It's the new...
He's a main character. We're going to crap on him all season, but he's in there. He's third or fourth in the credits. He's there.
Right.
At the end credits, though, not at the beginning credits. It's just the two of them in the beginning credits. So
I mean, I definitely feel like I like Mickey more now versus when I watched him originally.
Yes.
And I think part of that is just like having some room and also like having some context for the show as a whole. Mm-hmm. Also, he gets fined once he cuts his hair, so like that also helps. Once we have that lineup
and the character development, like that helps too.
Absolutely.
Like he shows up with the big gun, and he's just like, "I'm here," and I do appreciate the trajectory of his character. Like here, he's like clutching Rose, terrified at everything's going on, and he doesn't.
He's saving her.
By the end, he's saving her and all the universe, and he's learned from all of his experiences without, I guess.
But I do feel like they still could have. I do feel like they could have still done that without shitting on him that much, that often.
Oh, for sure.
Frequently.
Oh, for sure. He could have just been timid, and instead he's timid, and they both are like, "You suck. Why are you here? Don't come with us."
And like, why does the doctor hate him so much? Like, why is that?
Just immediately.
Yeah.
It's a pattern.
And it's like always, like he's always talking shit. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm like, can we not? I mean, you can make that connection, honey, and I'm like here for it, but I also just don't care about the other half of that connection.
I know you don't.
But like, I think the vision. I just personally want to be a part of
because
that
it's kind of the same. Where he's just like, I guess not. But Mickey doesn't really travel in the TARDIS either. Just like one time.
He does a couple times. He does, and then he's like, "Wow, I'm in a whole new universe where people actually value me. Crazy.
I'm staying.
Yes,
I'm here now."
Yes, that's slightly different than Girl in the Fireplace, where he doesn't even get to go to the He barely is out there in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah. Mickey, you deserve so much better from your beginnings.
I am still upset that we had to watch this.
I'm not that mad. I'm actually not that upset about it. I would have been more upset if we had to watch Father's Day, so.
Ooh.
But then we could have, like, legitimately shit on Rose because she knew what was going on.
Well, I actually didn't really. Another thing, too, is, like, I kind of liked. Part of the reason I liked this because I didn't want to shit on her as much. Like, she gets on my nerves. I did. But I also feel like, when I first watched this episode, I wasn't like, wow, Rose is the best, whoopty whoop. Like, but I was cool with her being here and being there. You know what I mean? I was cool with her being the companion. And again, it's one of those things like this, or like, I guess a lot of RTD's seasons, or really all of them, are very much like, you can tell certain ones, like season 8, where you're like, okay, this is just not good. But especially early on, you don't realize how, like, not necessarily bad, but like how not great certain aspects of it are until you have hindsight, until you like watch better things, or like you come back and rewatch.
Kind of fine. It was just like,
right, you're like, when you're in the moment and you're watching it, it's not really like it's not. Especially because you're just in it. You're like, you're here for the story, you're here for the time travel, you're here for the fun and like the weird stuff. And then later you go back and then you're like, oh, like when you actually start using your critical brain and not just your fan brain, and you're like, oh wait, this is a choice.
Often the problem. People just only watch things with their fan brain, but as fans of color, we have to watch with our critical brain too.
Right, but I think that I enjoy watching it with my fan brain. I can never shut. I don't ever shut off my critical brain because there are definitely things where like.
I'll be pushing it down. Like, shut up, leave me alone.
Well, I think at this point I don't even like push it down. I think that like for example, when we were watching the first the premiere of season 11 and the Grace thing happened. Like partially I'm watching it because like we're doing it for this and so we have to have some like critical eye towards it, but also watching it, I'm like, I just feel happy watching this episode. And then the Grace thing happens and I'm like, well, now I'm pissed the fuck off. Like, whatever. But I think that it is like, it's a much more like visceral reaction and much more just like, I'm trying to let myself like react to the show without having to put any particular like articulation towards it or like having to put that into words yet. So even if I'm watching an episode like Love and Monsters, when I watched the episode, I was like, this is doo-doo.
I think I was just bored.
Awful. I was just like, why, right? But at the same time, but it's still a part of watching it with your fan brain. Like, I don't have to watch that with my critical brain to be like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just obviously garbage.
I was just like, no, this is ass. But like, that's fine. So I think that like this time when I'm watching it for this, I was trying to like maintain some of the critical like aspects of it, but still kind of try to remember how I watched it when I first watched it, and I didn't have that many like qualms or like issues with Rose at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
I
think
never loved Rose.
More annoying later because of how much they talk about her. So she's not annoying. She isn't annoying the first go round, but then it's really like, I get it, Rose. You love her. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like I do think that it is like Father's Day is the first time in the season in which I'm like, girl, go somewhere, sit down, please. But it is like the after that really makes Rose problematic, which is not Billy Piper. It's not on the writers. But I also feel like in the same way that like the Martha hate is not on Freema at all. It was on the writers and racism. Call a thing a thing. I still I can't go back like and be like, I don't know. I can't go back to how I was the first time I watched it. So Rose is annoying to me. And I would have much rather watched a season 1 in which I could just openly be like, I am annoyed by this.
I feel that.
I just like, I can't go back. We can't go back. We already here.
I do get that. Quotes from the TARDIS?
I can feel the earth turning every second of the day. Rose, don't you feel it? Hold my hand. That might not be exactly how it goes.
I think you got the gist.
Yeah. I'm in my dressing gown. There's a strange man in my bedroom. Kills me every time. Kills me every time because he's just like, and he smiles, and he's just like, no, and he walks off.
He brings the storm in his wake, and he has one constant companion: death.
Again, so dramatic.
I was
melodrama.
Please, everyone, have some chill.
Because also,
everyone just, go drink some lemonade and sit in the sun.
He's like, his one constant companion is death. By the way, he saved this family from the Titanic. They didn't. Right. It's not like they died.
It's not like he brought them. He didn't bring the Titanic. It was happening, and he said, "Hey, yo, maybe not.
I want to stay home for this one."
Fantastic.
It's a good.
It's great.
Yeah, it's a good catchphrase. Simple, direct, joyful.
Joyful. I love the way he says it. It's changed the meaning of the word for me. Eccleston,
it's true.
Yeah.
Lots of planets have a north. It's just not how you say it, but it's fine. Which is great because also your voice is definitely from the north of America. I mean, of England, of the earth. You didn't pick a North Gallifreyan accent. You very much were like, hey, this is where I'll be from.
Not America.
I course corrected. I meant the earth, but
yeah,
it's subconscious. Whoops.
I'm not here to kill it. I've got to give it a chance. And it's the, ethos of the Doctor. It reminds me of, and I know you guys don't go here, but I don't go to Us, and y'all talked about that. It reminds me of Star Trek's Prime Directive. It's in Star Trek, the Prime Directive is to not interfere. And as much as possible, you can't interfere in other culture. So, if you get to a planet and they execute people, you have to follow their laws, and you can't interfere, once, you accidentally break their laws and you find out that the punishment is death, you're supposed to just be sorry, bro, you gotta die. That never happens on Star Trek. They're always those Prime Directive has limits. And it's it doesn't, though. It only has limits when y'all decide, oh, snap, I don't wanna.
I don't like this rule.
I don't like this rule. And that I'm not here to kill it, I've got to give it a chance, is the Doctor Who's that's a hard and fast rule. We're never going to break that rule. It's a line in the sand. Oh, just kidding. It's inconvenient.
I mean, I do feel like he gives everything a chance. Sometimes even Daleks, and you're like, bro, you just already know that these Daleks don't need this. But then they be coming back hey, what's up? So he's like, you gotta go then. That's it.
No.
That's it. Actually, the Daleks don't get a second chance because they're on their 57th.
Right.
That's true. That's just because they don't die.
Right.
At this point, he's like, how can I kill y'all?
I literally exploded your planet and mine all at the same time, and y'all still here?
Right.
He didn't know they were seeds, y'all.
What is wrong with you? Between that and your Elder Wand tweet, I am done with you. Done.
I was really proud of that one.
Finito.
That was really great.
I was both proud of you and done with you at the same time. I was
I didn't know they were seeds. Okay, last one.
I am talking, which I feel like he's done a couple times.
Yeah, that's
just really
that's
not
a cross Doctor one.
Yeah, that's where he's just like, shut the fuck up.
I'm being quiet.
The 10 is talking. Cool. So thank y'all for listening. Check out blackgirlscreate.org for more Tarbis things and other things that we do. Follow us on social media on Twitter at WeBlackandNerds. Join our Slack where we have a channel dedicated to conversations about Doctor Who. Use the hashtag Tarbis on Twitter to let us know your thoughts on Doctor Who and this particular episode. And rate and review us on iTunes and where podcasts are found.
Harvest is a part of Hard Knock Media. We've joined the Nerds of Color podcast network, including the podcast Hard Knock Life, Southern Fried Asian, DC TV Classics, Ask By Girls, Desi Geek Girls, We're Not All Ninjas, and That Moment. You can check out all of these podcasts at hardknockmedia.com.
So yeah, thank you for listening. We'll be back next month talking about an episode from season 2. So please keep an eye out for the Twitter poll and vote for which episode we will discuss. You'll be choosing between New Earth. Which one of you picked that? Tooth and Claw.
Me.
Tooth and Claw, a Biana
That's
choice, and Girl in the Fireplace. So be on the lookout for the Twitter poll and for our campaigning. Because, once, we gotta get our top endorsers out there. We've got to just make it happen. So this is our Blue Ballot
Basically,
Box.
we got to get Nicole on
one
our
of
side.
our sides. Hashtag Black TARDIS is a keen endorser, and we will be bribing and
Not bribing.
Trying to get Reality Bomb.
the super PAC
To
going.
get the Reality Bomb endorsement.
No.
'cause-
Start lobbying,
Yeah.
for whatever causes she's into to make sure that she's on our sides. Anyway, keep an eye out. Join the Blue Ballot Box series
Yes.
with us.
The black girls have the box.